Picture this. You've waited years, decades actually, decades of heartbreaking lottery luck, terrible front office decisions, coaches spinning through a revolving door, and promises that evaporated into the Manhattan asphalt before they could ever bloom. But finally, the moment is here. The New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals. Madison Square Garden, the mecca of basketball, is playing host to Game 3. This was supposed to be the single greatest night in a modern Knicks fan's life, a night of pure, unadulterated basketball magic. But what happens when the billionaire ruling over the team you love decides to turn a historic sports moment into a personal, political sideshow? What happens when the iconic Garden vibe is choked out before the ball is even tipped, all because the owner wants to show off his VIP guest in a bulletproof box? Welcome to today's episode. Today, we are dissecting a night where Madison Square Garden wasn't just conquered by a rival team on the court, but hijacked from the inside. The Knicks' 115-111 loss to the San Antonio Spurs and a dominant Victor Wembanyama was painful, sure, but the real tragedy? It was unfolding in the luxury suites and out on the barricaded streets of Midtown. This is the story of a massive middle finger to the city of New York. From Jimmy, with love. To truly understand the emotional weight of this night, we have to talk about the money. We have to talk about what it actually cost for regular, die-hard human beings to breathe the air inside the Garden for Game 3. Inflation doesn't even begin to describe it. The ticket prices weren't just high, they were a financial hostage situation. Let's talk about Jake Borden, 28, and Destiny Krause, 27. They started their journey from the Jersey Shore just before 3 p.m. on Monday for an 8:30 p.m. tip-off. Why so early? Because when you drop $11 grand each, that's $22,000 on a single credit card for upper balcony seats. You don't risk being late. They were the very first people in their section, sitting all the way up in the nosebleeds, looking down from the rafters. Jake told reporters, "We love the Knicks," but even through his loyalty, he admitted the prices were predatory. He looked around and noted how wrong it felt that true fans were priced out, while the lower bowl was increasingly filled with big suits who might not even care about the team. Then there's Patrick Barry, a 66-year-old Harlem native now living in Maryland. His family, his wife, his daughter, his niece all chipped in, pooling their savings to surprise him with a single ticket. Section 116, row 19, seat 18. The price tag? $11,396. That is not just a ticket. That is a family's collective sacrifice for a man who has bled orange and blue for over half a century. And consider Dr. Isaac Dopkins. The last time the Knicks made the finals, Isaac was in middle school. Now he's a practicing doctor. He came straight from work, draping his business shirt over the back of his 13-year-old son Liam's chair in the 400-level blue seats. When Isaac was telling a reporter that he paid roughly $7,000 for those seats, he literally reached over and covered his teenage son's ears so the kid wouldn't know the terrifying amount of money his dad had just spent. And right as he shared that moment, a Homeland Security officer walked right past them, because by 6 p.m., Madison Square Garden didn't feel like a basketball arena anymore. It felt like a TSA checkpoint. Ahead of Game 3, James Dolan, the billionaire Knicks fans love to hate, walked through the event-level floor. He was sporting a pastel orange suit jacket. It looked expensive, sure, but as the writer Candace Buckner pointed out, it couldn't have cost as much as what the people in the rafters paid just to enter the building. Dolan made his way up to the bulletproof box positioned right beneath the Lexus suite level. And who was sitting next to him? His longtime friend and fellow New Yorker, Donald Trump. The reaction from the crowd was instantaneous, visceral, and loud. He was booed lustily by the constituents of Gotham. Now, look, Trump is a native New Yorker. He used to hit up Knicks games back in the 90s, but these days he's a highly polarizing political figure who seems more at home hosting cage fights than sitting peacefully at a basketball game. But the anger from the fans wasn't just about politics. It was about Dolan's utter disregard for the environment. Dolan had to have known what a financial burden this game was for his fan base. He had to have understood that inviting an incredibly polarizing figure would immediately hijack the narrative, steal the spotlight from the players, and turn the arena into an administrative nightmare. The security alone turned the perimeter of MSG into a police state setup, complicating logistics for the league and forcing fans who paid thousands of dollars to jump through endless security hoops just to get inside. But Dolan didn't care, not about his fans and honestly not about his players. He saw a massive, historic New York moment and decided to strangle the joy right out of it. Take a fan named Steve C. He flew all the way in from Houston, planning to spend exactly 15 hours on the ground in New York, his original hometown. He paid $3,000 for his ticket. His grand plan? Watch the game, head straight to LaGuardia Airport, sleep uncomfortably on a concourse metal seat, and catch a 6 a.m. flight back to Texas, just so his babysitter could leave on Tuesday morning. Steve was furious. Standing in the upper decks, he muttered, "The Orange Man should not be here. It shouldn't be this game. Pick another effing game. It ain't about you." Steve looked around the arena and predicted it perfectly. It's a photo op. It's a bad PR spot. This is not a crowd that's going to support him. Why inconvenience people? Why this game? Why now? Before the game started, despite the intense security, the crazy prices, and the political circus, the fans still believed. There was this beautiful, desperate optimism. Mike G. from Long Island, who paid $4,250 a pop to sit with his brother on the catwalk before tip-off, said it's absolutely worth it. "I don't know if it's going to be 4 or 5 games, but the Knicks are going to do it. And being at the Garden, you can't put a price tag on it." But basketball is a cruel game, and the vibe, which had already been dragged out back and beaten to an inch of its life by Dolan's antics, officially expired on the court. The Knicks fought, but they fell short, losing 115 to 111 to the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama put on an absolute clinic. He dominated the floor, silenced the home crowd, and instantly vaulted himself into the lofty ranks of ultimate New York sports villains. By the final buzzer, that feel-good, no-worries energy was entirely gone. I think about Mike G. up on the catwalk. He wasn't sitting in his luxury swivel chair. He was standing up, chewing anxiously on cups of ice, suffering through each possession. In the final seconds of a 2-point game, when the Spurs' Stephon Castle stepped up to the free throw line, Mike G. waved his arms frantically, screaming with every ounce of air left in his lungs. Castle sunk the free throws anyway. When the buzzer sounded, Mike slammed his plastic cup on a trash bin in pure, unadulterated heartbreak. You see, Jimmy Dolan just can't help himself. This is a man who turned his arena into a Big Brother playground, using facial recognition technology to bar lawyers who were suing his companies. This is a man who back in 2019 banned a loyal fan just for shouting "sell the team." This is the man who hosted a highly controversial rally at MSG that alienated large portions of the city's population. And on a night when New York basketball finally climbed back to the mountaintop, Dolan used a massive, historic NBA Finals game to remind everyone why it is so easy to love the New York Knicks, but utterly impossible to stomach their boss. Even an hour after the game, the tension didn't dissipate. Outside the Moynihan train hall, chants of F. Donald Trump echoed through the midnight air as crowds lingered and cameras rolled. Sure, it was vulgar. Sure, it was a crowd venting their frustrations for social media. But as Candace Buckner so beautifully put it, nothing outside on the streets was as crass as Dolan's decision inside that arena. His choice to prioritize a political stunt over the sanctity of a sports community was the ultimate, undisputed FU to the people of New York. The fans paid with their savings, their credit card debt, and their sleep, and in return, James Dolan gave them a circus. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Let me know in the comments, do you think Dolan has officially crossed the point of no return with New York fans? Until next time, keep supporting the teams you love, and let's hope for better days at the Garden.